Absolutely. Well, for those of you who are not from the area, welcome to the home of Susan B. Anthony. We're grateful that you're here. Now, I'm looking out and I'm seeing all of you. And after hearing the panel of women elected officials, I feel hope. I feel hope in these times, these difficult times. And knowing that now who has been fighting for women's equality for decades is continuing that fight, and we have such a great representation right here in New York State, that also gives me hope. It is my honor and my pride to stand here today and say to you, to all the women in the room, I am your ally. Many of you know I have been a gay activist for many years. And prior to becoming an assembly member, as an attorney, spent most of my law career representing individuals regarding their workers' rights and also representing people in anti-discrimination employment matters. Notwithstanding their background, and I want you to listen closely, notwithstanding that background, I will never know what it's like to be a black man in this society. I will never know what it's like to be a person of disability in this society. I will never know what it's like to be a transgender person in this society. I will never know what it's like to be a woman in this society. As I suspect the heterosexuals in the room will never know what it's like to be gay in this society. But what I do know is that there's no place for harassment and discrimination in our society.
Yeah.
And I say to all of you, me too. Me too, who was a young associate in a law firm wanting to become a partner in that law firm and had a mentor who was responsible to make sure that I was socialized in the right way and that I was exposed to the right people so I could advance in the law firm. And when I rebuffed him with a sexual advance on a boating, sailing trip, the following Monday have him come into my office and say, it's okay with me that you're gay, but if other people in this law firm finds out, and I quote, there will be no place for you in this firm. This is from the person who made a sexual advance on me. So I say to all of you, I may not fully understand and appreciate, but I do understand. And maybe none of us can fully understand, but I think we can all agree that discrimination against one of us is discrimination against all of us. Those of you who know me and have heard me speak know that I have one basic premise that has led my life journey and leads me in my public service. And it is, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter who you love or where you come from, we all have dignity. We all deserve full equality, justice, and an opportunity to succeed. And that's what we together have to fight for. And you know, that proposition is a simple proposition, but it's one that is at the essence of our greatest moments in our country. It is what has led abolition and civil rights from Seneca Falls to Stonewall. It's all about the dignity of every single human being. And that ideal is consistent with the resistance movement we are experiencing today. You don't need me to tell you that we are living in unprecedented times. We all can feel it. We see it. Just check the news, stroll through the social media, have conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers. It's all around us. We see it and we feel it. I truly but naively thought that we had come a lot further in achieving the ideal of full equality for everyone. But last year's election has proven this is not the case. The hate speech, white supremacist leafletting in our towns, racial slurs, The burning of pride flags right here in our backyard has revealed how much work remains. The battles we thought we were won are being fought all over again. We see push from some to divide us instead of uniting us. A push that creates an us versus them, and if you're something other than me, then that means you're an other and you're a threat. That's what we're hearing, especially at the federal level. But we're hearing it in our backyards as well. These ideas that were on the fringe are now prevalent and perceived by far too many people. In this climate, it is easy to feel frustrated, disgusted, helpless. At moments, I felt that myself. Certainly right after the election, I felt that. But in the midst of this darkness, I have also felt an incredible sense of hope, like the hope you give, because you're here today. I am hopeful that we are on the cusp of something new, and a burgeoning movement. The energy and passion that has risen to the surface over the past year is inspiring. People quite literally have gone to the streets. People have found their voice. People are fighting back. And the courageous women like those being honored in a few minutes who either come forward about their own sexual harassment situation or are fighting to end systemic harassment in institutions, these people are an inspiration to all of us. Their strength has triggered a change in the national conversation around these issues. A conversation that is long overdue and a conversation that must continue. We are witnessing a cultural shift, not just with the conversation around sexual harassment, but also a broader conversation about the direction of this country. Who are we? What do we stand for? What will we fight for? We must keep this dialogue going, but we must also turn our emotions and our feelings into actions. Actions like having those difficult political conversations next week over Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. I have some of those in my family, right? Speaking up when you see or hear instances of injustice in our everyday lives in our workplaces. And calling out people when we hear them speak disparaging of another simply because of who they are. I implore you, seize upon those learning moments and have those extremely difficult conversations. You can also take action by advocating for the passage of legislation that you support and advocating against the passage of legislation that you don't support. Or better yet, as my colleagues mentioned earlier, run for office. We need more women in elected office. Will you run for office? We cannot be bystanders. We must all become activists in our own lives. We must turn those emotions into a response with action and resolve. Resolve that we will not go back but forward. Let's agitate, come together, organize, mobilize, with the resolve that we will not waver, we will not give up our fight for women's equality. In some cases, the odds are stacked against us, but that doesn't mean that we won't fight like hell. We will resist and persist as we push forward toward justice and equality for all. You're in the home of Susan B. Anthony. So let me conclude by renewing her call. Susan B. Anthony, as she said in her day, and it most definitely applies in our day, organize, agitate, educate must be our war cry. The war has begun anew, my sisters. It's time for us to organize, agitate, and educate. Let's resist and persist. Thank you.